How was life for you in Poland, you know, when you were in the schools? Did you enjoy it? Did you make
In
friends?
Poland, that was before the war.
Yeah, before the war.
Well, my parents had a farm, buildings, and on my mother's side we had a bit of a forestry. But I've never been there because my father wouldn't allow me to go. There were some little animals they take up and knock you down. And also, we had the orchards with a lot of different fruits. There were trees all the way around our buildings, and the alley leading to the house. From the river, the alley leading to the house. And you walk along the alley to the house. I used to chase across the field, into the field with a dog. See, I forgot to say things. The skylarks were singing, especially in springtime, then you were like crazy chasing around with a dog. And dog were together with them everywhere, you see. That's what life was. When in 1939, where Poland was invaded by Germans, and 2 weeks later by the Soviet Union. Our part of Poland was occupied by Soviet Union. And what they did, first of all, was deporting people to Siberia. At 4 o'clock in the morning, the Soviet soldier and some other they sent something, some kind of a carriages or whatever, to put you on. A family was put on. It was the 10th of February, very cold and snow. It's like a sledge. What's the name when on a snow you see sledges you using, isn't it? Well, that it was. We were loaded on it, and they took us to the railway station. We've learned there were hundreds of other families as well in that particular area. And they loaded the train. It was a goods train. There were different shelves, about 3 shelves inside, and they shoved the people in. So,
did they tell you where you were going?
They didn't tell us where we're going. Where you're going, you don't need... don't worry, we take you. They said, don't we take you? Oh, some soldier would say, take anything you can. My grandfather, who was in Tsar's army, he said when he traveled first time, people were standing with food, bread and everything, and fruits, selling it. But when the Soviet Union came to power, people were totally impoverished. So it was a tough time because people were starving. Those who couldn't work because of their poor health, they wouldn't get the bread enough to survive. There was a man who was delivering bread to our barracks, number 408, his number, the barracks. And what happened was that one particular man, he probably suffered from some dementia or whatever, and he took one loaf of bread and he hid somewhere. But the man that supplied the bread, he counted them all, you see, and he seen one loaf missing. So he looked around and found him hiding the bread, see. So this man was brought to court and sent for 20 years hard labor for stealing one loaf of bread. That's one incident of Soviet paradise. See? You wouldn't dare to mention this, because if you did, you would be reactionary. Now, when the war ended, naturally, we realized that after Yalta Conference, Poland lost its eastern provinces to Soviet Union. So we had nowhere to go. War finished in the name of freedom and democracy, but not for everyone. We were the losers, in fact. Families were scattered in different British colonies in Africa, India and so on. So when the war finished, so 1947, 1948, most Polish army from the Middle East had a choice, because they couldn't go back to Poland when the eastern provinces that were annexed, so they could go, and they did, to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States, some to South Africa, but most came to Britain, here. Why? Because they hoped that within some short time they'll be being closer and they might be able to return. When I came to England, I came in 1946. We came by ship because we were loaded in Port Said, Egypt, from Palestine, our school. I think first we were unloaded, which is, I don't know why, but we were unloaded in Port Glasgow in Scotland, and we were surprised. And then, but that was my school units, not civilians. And from there we traveled by train to Whitley camp, I think. That was a place where you were demobbed. You were giving a civilian dress and so on. Our service there, I think I've made a few, I knew already a few jokes in English, so I spoke to a, well, he just gave me a good suit, you know, and all this. Well, in those days they even give you a cap. So we were civilians then. When we arrived, we were settled in the hostels in the country. Well, the conditions were rather rough, because there was one water tap in the middle somewhere of the camp, the hostel camp, where women and anybody or children had to walk to that tap, water tap, to get the water. When the people started having those barracks, they had a bit of a land around, so they started growing gardens, flowers and so on. When the postman arrived, oh, how beautiful it is around. They were praising us all the time for nice place we made it out of this. In those camps we had dancings, some other entertainments, you see. There was life was booming. Then the government, I think it was Minister Bevan, or Prime Minister Bevan at the time, they've organized some kind of a Polish resettlement corps. That means they were going into a civilian life, and your particular area, you went sometime to training. Even in the hostels they were training. Polish educational system was training different professions and different trades. So when you went into factories or wherever, you had qualifications. People living for a few years, they saved deposits and start buying houses. And after years, as you know, they've started to organize and put deposits for the clubs, churches and so on. Life must go on, you see, but it took many years. We were always hoping that despite everything and all this, we were hoping for good news from your country, you see. You thought maybe something will change for better, whatever. But as years went by, you realized that there was a little hope, because there was a Cold War and whatever they're calling, you know. Now, in the Western Europe, you had a Marshall Plan from America, which was assisting with the money to develop their economy. Poland couldn't receive any help because Stalin blocked it. See? So even everything that could have been helped to redevelop the economy, it was blocked. Now, that's why it took so many years, nearly 50 years, when communism eventually collapsed, and now we had to start from zero again and redevelop the economy and so on. And then the whole system collapsed, so the factories were closed, because on those systems where factories were nationalized couldn't run anymore, because they were, how they're calling, free market. So you had to open your companies on a free for the competition. Then to do competition you needed investment. Who is going to invest when you have an unstable society? Just after communism collapsed, you see, it was a struggle year after year. Now it has, as I understand, on the right way to go up, but it will take time.
Do you think the unstable society in Poland has caused people to come over here to England?
I would say, as far as I know, that because of this free market, the prices went up, but the earnings for wages gone up, but not comparatively enough to the prices which were on the market. So there was a lot of pressure for ordinary family to manage, because of the prices, gas, electricity and so on went up, especially when they joined a common market, because as you did join, they imposed the prices. But the wages were hardly moving up, you see.
How do you feel about the newest generation of Polish people that are coming over?
Well, we speak the same language, but sometimes we don't understand each other. That's a funny thing to say, you know, but their attitude and their mentality is different. We are the wartime people. We had motivation, and we had idea, and we had a hope, and we wanted to go back and rebuild. But the time Poland was free, like, or whatever, so we were too old, we were pensioners. So you see, we couldn't do nothing. Groups that came in 1 week or 2 weeks, and next week they disappear. You know, you see a different ones again. Nobody was, like to say, permanently living in that area, so you didn't know who would be next. Either they moved for different jobs, or some of them went back. Another reason, because like, when I left families, wife or children in Poland, he came here to earn money or whatever, you see. So either he managed all right or didn't. Those who knew language, English language, it was easier for them. But you might be highly qualified when you came in. But if you didn't know the language, it meant nothing. Right? This is the main problem for them. And those newcomers, I mean, they don't have attachment to social duties and no motivation to work socially. They say we only came to earn money, go back. That's what they're telling us. See, but I know some of them who brought their children with them, young families, and their children are at school here in England. It'll be very difficult to go back because their children will be mixed and growing up with the other children. So the parent just can't take them away from there. See, that's another dilemma. There is a feeling that however hard it is, on one side we feel that they should not leave the country somewhere else just like nilly-willy. But there is another side to it, because if whatever the gate, it's open, Britain have opened the door, and when you know that you can earn many times more, how are you supposed to prevent them? You see, yet them, they're working hard, you see.
Very hard.
And I know that those who earn money or have enough, they went back. But probably not enough went back, because too many of them came in with kind of a one wave or two waves. Oh, it's about, how many, 4 years, 3 years now since they opened the gate, or how do you calling it, frontiers, or whatever, how do you say
Borders.
it? Borders, I think. See. So, what can you do? It's the government that wanted it. But you ask yourself a question, why did they wanted them to come in? Right? Because it must be some hidden purpose, which they wouldn't mention. Because there is enough people here to do a job, but they don't want it. Especially, you know who I'm talking about. There is very few of us remain alive now. At our club there is a board, the founders of this club, those who contributed financially to build the club, the society and all this. Now, when you look on a list, there's about 400 names. Those who are alive, you count them on a few fingers. The rest have passed away. That's how reality is. Dywizja siódma, ma równe kroki, pełen zwroki, równy chód ma. To kwiat piechoty, rycerskiej cnoty, to każdy żołnierz pewien werby i ochoty, a każdy chłopak jest morowy,